The if statement, right, with the if statement, we use the keyword if in Python. Now this is in Python. We use the keyword if, right? And then we must have a condition. That is why I was explaining the concept of a condition. So we have to use the if statement together with a condition. So let's look at an example. Let's say num1 is 10 and let's say num2 is 20. I'm just taking some random values, okay? How do we write the if statement in Python? So this is what you are going to. This is just an example where you say if, that is the keyword, that's a reserved word. You'll always, when you're using a condition, you'll always start with if. And this is your condition that I was speaking about. If num2 is greater than num1. So in this example, I'm checking if num2 is greater than num1. So that's the condition I need to set up. In another example, you could be testing something else. So your condition will change accordingly, depending on what the question wants you to do. Okay? Right? So here we've got if num2 is greater than num1, print num2 is greater than num1. So this is the statement. This is the statement that is printed when that condition is true. When this condition num2 is greater than num1, right? When that condition is true, then this statement is executed. So what happens when that condition is false? When that condition is false, then this statement is not executed. The statement will only execute when the condition is true. If it is false, if there was another statement here outside of the if, it would simply execute that statement. So that's what you need. That's what you need to understand regarding an if. Okay? I'm going to go through a series of examples so you will understand it as we move through this, right? Now, you'll notice with the way I wrote the statement inside of the if, right? So we have something called indentation. Indentation is critical when we are writing an if statement. Indentation means the space that we are leaving. Okay, that's indentation. So when we write an if statement, you'll notice in this example, I've not indented, but in that example, I am indenting. Now, which one is correct in Python? So this is wrong and will not work. This is correct and will work. So whenever you use an if statement, right? Whenever you use an if statement, the statement inside of the if must be indented, like I've done in this example here. The statement must be indented. Indented means you need to leave some space, right? You need to leave some space over here before you write your statement. So if you do it like this and you don't leave any space, that would be wrong. When you try to run your program, you will get an error. Okay, you'll get an error. Another thing that I should have mentioned earlier is that after your condition, you must have this colon. Colon means 2 dots. Right? So that is compulsory. After your condition, you need to have a colon. Colon means I'm finished. The condition is now finished. Okay, so this is our condition. This is the condition. You have the colon to say that the condition is finished, and then you have your statement. The print is the statement inside of the if, and when you are writing it, make sure that you indent the statement. Right, so this is how you work with an if statement. Right, let's look at a couple more examples. Right, so now we've got many things happening in this segment of code that I'm presenting to you. Right, so here we are looking at what we're calling a one-way if statement. Okay, so this is a one-way if. Again, take note, num1 is 10, num2 is 20. So I've just given two values. I've got two variables, num1 and num2, and I've given them values. Right. So when Python executes its code, it starts at the beginning. So this is the first line it will execute. This is the second line it will execute. So at the first line, there was a placeholder called num1, and it got the value 10. At the second line, there was a placeholder called num2, and it got the value 20. At the third line, it was output. Output. Print means output. And what does it output? It outputs the word hello. So here, this statement just simply prints hello on the screen. Now when it comes to the fourth line, now I've got my if statement. So this is now my if statement, and I am now doing my checking. Right? I'm checking if num2 is greater than num1. That's a condition. And what did we say? Conditions evaluate to either true or false. So let's check our condition. Is num2 greater than num1? So there's num2 here. Num2 is 20. Is 20 greater than 10? True or false? Yes, 20 is greater than 10, so it's true. As long as the condition is true, we will now execute that statement because the condition is true. So this statement says print number 2 is greater than number 1. So in my output, it's going to say number 2 is greater than number 1. And this will be displayed on the screen. After this line finishes, which was the fourth statement, then we go to the fifth statement, which now prints by. Now you have to understand this. You have to understand this. This print statement here, that print statement, this print statement here, it's not inside of the if. Now, why is it not inside of the if? Because if it was inside of the if, then our indentation is important. Remember, we spoke about the spacing. So if you want that statement to be inside of the if, then we should have had that statement starting at that indent. But because that statement is in line, because it is in line with the if, it's not inside of the if. Therefore, whether the if condition is true or false, it is still going to display by. it is still going to display by, because that print statement is not inside the if. Okay? So that's critical for you to understand. And that's why indentation plays such a big part. Because if you want multiple statements to be inside of the if, then you have to indent all of those statements that are part of the if statement. Okay? Again, we'll do a few more examples and I think you'll get the idea. This is exactly the same as the previous example. Right? It's exactly the same as the previous example. Why does it look different? There's no blank lines. The previous example, I had blank lines. Right? So, because of the blank lines, now this looks like it's different, but it's exactly the same code as the previous one. Right? Okay, I'm just quickly trying to see and make sure that y'all are still online. Okay, trying to figure out why on my side I'm picking up a blank picture. I hope you can see my screen. I hope you can see my screen on your end. Can somebody just post something on the chat just to confirm that you can see my screen? There's a question that's come through, a very interesting question. It's asking, does it matter how many spaces we leave due to indentation? No, it doesn't matter how many spaces we leave, but make sure that if you've got more than one statement, you got the same number of spaces. Okay? And what I usually do when I'm using my indent, I press the tab key on your keyboard. The tab key allows, I'm not sure if you'll have used the tab key. When you press the tab key, it causes the cursor to jump a few spaces. So make use of the tab key whenever you are indenting. That's the best way I find for it to work. Okay? So I'm just quickly double checking that y'all can see my screen properly. Okay. All right. Okay, I think y'all can. So in this particular screen, or this slide, as I indicated, it's exactly the same as the previous one, right? It's exactly the same as the previous one, but I've taken out the spaces. There's no blank lines. Those blank lines make no difference to Python compiler. To the computer, those blank lines make absolutely no difference. But look what a big difference it makes when you are leaving blank lines and it becomes easier to read. So for me, putting in those blank lines are extremely important because it helps me to just see and read the program a lot better. But to the computer, it makes absolutely no difference to the computer. So just keep that at the back of your mind. Right? It's useful to use blank lines, but it's helping you to understand your program better. Now let's look at, remember we were working with the one-way if. Okay. There's something I want to do before I move to the two-way if, right? There's something I quickly want to do. And I'd like you to tell me if num1 is 20 and num2 is 10. My question to you is, what will be printed on the screen? If num1 is 20 and num2 is 10, what will be printed on the screen? So in this instance, right, okay, in this instance, if you now have num1 20 and num2 10, follow the statements line by line. So let's go to the first statement. This time I'm not going to draw placeholders. I'm going to write down num1, and num1 is 20. Go to the next line. Num2, follow it line by line. Num2 is 10. Go to the next line. Output. Output. So print means output. So what is it outputting? It's outputting hello. Right? And then go to the next line. Check your if condition. Is num2 greater than num1? Is num2, which is 10, is 10 greater than num1? False. The condition is false. Right? And if the condition is false, you do not go into the statement. The statement is not executed. So just move on to the next statement. And which is the next statement? That's my print, because the print is not inside of the if, and it's going to print by. So in this instance, when the condition is false, you're not going inside of the if, and you just move on to the next statement. So just keep that at the back of your mind.